fight fans, hope you are ready for a fun one. Today, we're looking at the 7 best slugfests in the UFC that had us glued to the TV for every second of combat. Stay tuned to see if your favorite fighter features on the list. Say that 3 times fast. Without further ado, let's kick things off with the first fight on our list.
Number 7, Colby Chaos Covington versus Kamaru the Nigerian Nightmare Usman.
First up is the 2019 clash between the welterweight king and current #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Kamaru Usman, and the microphone menace that is Colby Covington. As soon as referee Mark Goddard initiated the fight, both men entered the center of the octagon and began firing away with ill intent. Covington peppering Usman with crisp combos, backing him up with overwhelming intensity. Usman stayed composed and returned heavy shots with sniper-like efficiency. At the end of the third round, Usman landed on the money with a picture-perfect cross. Colby told his corner in between rounds that he believed his jaw to be broken, but good luck trying to get him to admit that these days.
I think I broke my jaw.
10 minutes.
What came next is why it was these guys' first encounter that made the list instead of the rematch, which was equally thrilling. Stay tuned to see how a potentially broken jaw changed the fight for Colby. Going into the fourth round against a beast like Usman with half his face swollen, Colby threw himself at the mercy of the MMA gods and met Usman punch for punch and then some. Many fans would argue Colby's case that he even was winning those rounds. However, despite powering through 2 rounds with the best in the world with a busted up jaw, Colby's dream would be halted by the right hand of Kamaru Usman, who dropped Colby twice in that 5th round and claimed a career-defining victory. How did y'all see that fight playing out? Would Colby be the new champ if he had survived that final round? Our next entry on the list features 2 of the most violent men in the sport, both of whom have only gotten better since their meeting back in 2018. It's none other than
Number 6, Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje.
Easily winning fight of the night, Poirier versus Gaethje was second in the UFC's Fight of the Year rankings, though media source MMA Mania ranked it as first. Both men gave their all in an all-time classic bout, neither letting shots go unanswered or giving the opponent much space. Poirier seemed to find more success with the boxing, while Gaethje used his hands to keep Poirier distracted from the incoming danger to his legs. A strong right from Gaethje rocked Dustin in the third, causing the Louisiana native to go for broke in the 4th round. That round demonstrated the devastating effect of Justin's leg kicks, causing Dustin to buckle and stutter his way forward. Despite Justin throwing bombs at him and tearing through his leg, Dustin did keep advancing. The finishing sequence found Dustin landing a counter cross as Justin once more swung a leg kick at Dustin's chewed up leg. Justin wobbled around the octagon on shaky legs, still welcoming Dustin to wade into a firefight. As we've seen from so many of his fights, Dustin Poirier is the last guy you would want to show a hint of weakness to. Owning one of the sharpest killer instincts in the sport, when Dustin Poirier smells blood, he is a bad, bad man, swarming Gaethje with a barrage of punches. The ones that ripped through Gaethje's guard eventually put him down and sealed a monumental win for Dustin Poirier. Up next, they're tiny, they're mighty, it's
Number 5, Moreno Vs Figuereido 1.
The 125-pound division in the UFC is a shark tank, filled to the brim with highly skilled fighters. Savages like Askar Askarov, Alexandre Pantoja, and Brandon Royval circling the waters as they wait for their opportunity. Oh, and not to mention a beast like Kai Kara-France, product of the famed City Kickboxing, which boasts 2 UFC champions. Yet above these bloodthirsty opportunists stand 2 combatants who have proven themselves to be the gold standard. Davison Deuce the Guara or God of War Figueiredo and Brandon the Assassin Baby Moreno delivered the best fight in the history of the 125-pound division, scratch that, in the history of the UFC. Don't forget, this is a division that was once ruled by GOAT contender Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson before he was eventually dethroned by athletic anomaly Henry Triple C Cejudo. Well, these 2 guys have made us forget all about those days for a second. This fight had it all. sharp blistering exchanges on the feet, mad frantic scrambles on the ground, all adding to the hair-raising tension everyone was feeling, anxious that one of these men was about to lose this fight in devastating fashion. When it was all said and done, Figueiredo kept his championship status. Moreno would emerge victorious in their rematch, vindicating the fans who believed he did enough the first time. Next up at number 4 is a notoriously brutal war. These two men met for the second time with redemption for the sport's biggest star on the line. It's none other than
Number 4, Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 2.
Back in 2016, Conor McGregor was at a crossroads in his career. He just finished a historic year in 2015, dominating the featherweight division, securing the fastest championship KO in UFC history at 13 seconds, and with the full support of the MMA community, planned to move to lightweight to become the first ever UFC double champ. Then along came a homegrown representative of the 209 who put a chokehold on those goals. And this is where McGregor's life would have gone one of two ways: lose to Nate for a second time, have his push for lightweight gold threatened, and potentially never accomplish the monumental things he has. Luckily, as we all know, McGregor came into this rematch motivated, immediately blasting leg kicks and following up with heavy shots that landed clean on Diaz. In those opening rounds, there was no doubt as to who was winning the exchanges on the feet, as McGregor cut Diaz in the first round and only increased the damage from there. Meanwhile, Diaz was left swinging at air. At the start of the third round, McGregor was up by 3 knockdowns and with a possible 10-8, while Diaz was still warming up but had already received notable damage and was dripping blood, which to a Diaz probably means it's lunchtime. In that third round, Diaz won the only 10-8 round of the fight, coming alive with heavy 1-2 combos and finding a hole for his left hook on multiple occasions. Conor, losing momentum, had to create space any way possible, giving Diaz the perfect opportunity to unleash some of that patented Diaz trash talk. There was also some pointing and laughing at the retreating Irishman as Diaz entered zombie mode and stalked McGregor across the cage. The last 2 rounds saw both men exchange their trademark blows, Conor landing uppercuts and his notorious left cross. Diaz ate some shots to open chances to fire back with hooks, stalked in slaps and spamming 1-2s onto McGregor's chin. All 3 judges awarded the 4th to Conor and the 5th to Nate. So with the rubber match being 1-1 with 1 split decision, the fans are left patiently waiting for one of the most highly, if not most, highly anticipated rubber matches in the history of combat sports. Before we break into the top 3 on the list, here are some quick honorable mentions. Stay tuned to find out what the top 3 slugfests in the UFC are.
Honorable mentions: Gray Maynard versus Frankie Edgar 2.
Despite ending in controversy, this fight delivered everything a fight fan could want and more. If anyone is somehow still unaware of what a legend Frankie Edgar is, take a look at this performance. You'll probably walk away a Gray Maynard fan too.
Diego Sanchez versus Gilbert Melendez.
This fight was more like a Spartan training session, both men colliding together again and again and again until one had to eventually fall over.
Don Fry versus Yoshihiro Takayama.
Okay, so this fight wasn't in the UFC. However, it would be fair to call this showdown the godfather of slugfests. The mindless brutality of the opening seconds of this fight are so iconic that even your friends who have never watched combat sports in their life would probably have seen it. In the future, where dictionaries define words by hologram, you could undoubtedly find this under Slugfest.
Number 3, Jones versus Gustafsson 1.
Yet another fight of the night that turned into the UFC's fight of the year. Jones versus Gustafsson 1 could arguably be the greatest fight ever featured in the UFC. Coming into this fight, the indomitable Jon Jones had done things to the light heavyweight division that there are no words yet invented to describe. The level of dominance Jones showed was unprecedented in such a young athlete, still holding the record for the youngest UFC champion ever. To this day, we have never seen Jones push to the limit as he was in that fight. Gus used his outstanding boxing to keep Jones on his best behavior and landed shots that left Jones almost unrecognizable by the end of the fight. Check out our list of top 10 boxers in the UFC that features Alex and his boxing credentials. The Mauler is no joke. Jones found a hidden gear in the championship rounds and put Alex on his heels, landing a devastating knee that had Alex in survival mode for the rest of the fight. His creative striking and relentless pressure won Jones the fight, though many still argue that Gus did enough in those first 3 rounds to win. If you didn't already know, this was the first time in Jones's UFC career that he had been taken down. There could be no doubt this next fight belongs in the top 3 slugfest in UFC history. It's none other than
Number 2, Jedrzejczyk vs Zhang.
If most MMA fans are honest, WMMA doesn't often get the respect it deserves. As a result, the development of the division isn't as fast as, say, the men's lightweight division, which everyone has their eyes on to see what will happen next. Well, all that changed when Joanna and Wei Li went to a split decision following an all-time classic champ belt next. The future of WMMA looks bright, with pioneers like these ladies leading the way. If these two ever find themselves crossing paths again, expect all sorts of records to be broken, especially on pay-per-view. Both the UFC and MMA Mania rank this as the 2020 Fight of the Year.
Number 1, Lawler vs McDonald 2.
If you've got Robbie Lawler versus Rory MacDonald as your number 1 slugfest in the UFC, raise your glasses. You truly are the connoisseurs of the martial arts. This fight can unite Conor McGregor fans and Khabib fans, Jon Jones fans and DC fans, casuals, hardcores, anyone. It simply doesn't matter, because we can all appreciate this fight for the masterpiece of violence that it is. On the same night that saw Conor McGregor beat Chad Mendes for the interim featherweight belt, it was Robbie Lawler and Rory MacDonald that stole the show and won Fight of the Night honors. And that's just the facts. From the first moments of the very first round, Robbie Lawler advanced on MacDonald, who initially did outstandingly well to land kicks up the middle and use knees to demand some respect from Robbie. Then the second round exploded into life. Robbie threw a punch, Rory blocked and countered, which Robbie ate and answered with his own. That bust Rory open, which spurred Rory on even more, and so the fight went for the following rounds. Both men got rocked, dropped and left with faces like they'd been put through a meat grinder. Robbie's lip actually split about an inch up his face, and he still looked better off than Rory. In the 5th round, Lawler eventually landed a concussive straight that smashed Rory MacDonald's nose and forced the battered MacDonald to yield. It's no surprise fans rank this as the number 1 fight ever on a poll by ESPN. Just the stare down at the end of round 4 is enough to tell the story of this fight and send shivers down your spine. Whew, well, that about wraps it up. We hope you've enjoyed the video on the 7 most scintillating slugfest in the UFC. If you've made it all the way to the end with us, then thank you so much. Your support means a lot, and we hope we can repay you with the content you want to see more of. On that note, please do that great stuff. Let us know what you want in the comments, and drop us a like and a subscribe. Until next time, fight fans.